to take a chance to fly, feeling like I'm 10 feet high. Nightmares call, you can't deny. Better find a place to hide.
In both ancient and modern times, a country's ability to project power and exert its domination over others was greatly aided by its navy. The British Empire's rise to global dominance was influenced by its powerful navy. During the 19th century, it played a critical role in securing Britain's maritime trade routes and protecting its colonial interests. In modern times, it is a crucial component of the U.S. national security strategy due to the U.S. Navy's ability to respond swiftly to emergent threats and operate in a variety of environments. And U.S. Navy's nuclear aircraft carriers are doing it effectively. The U.S. Navy's aircraft carrier strike groups are a key tool for showing power around the world. These attack groups are made up of an aircraft carrier, guided missile cruisers, destroyers, and other ships. They can send out a large number of fighter jets and surveillance planes, which can be used for a wide range of tasks. The U.S. Navy operates more aircraft carriers than any other country. They have 11 of these, and all of them are nuclear-powered. They are sometimes referred to as the backbone of the U.S. Navy. When the United States Navy sends a carrier group to a region where tensions are high, it is sending a statement that it is ready to cooperate with its allies and partners to address common security problems. Similar to how it was done during the 1971 war between Pakistan and India. The carrier group's deployment was meant to show India that the U.S. was keeping a close eye on the situation and was prepared to intervene to defend its interests in the area. However, using aircraft carriers to project power against a nation can be a useful tool for the Navy, but it is not a foolproof tactic when the nation has strong allies. During the 1971 war, when the United States sent its carrier battle group against India to help Pakistan, India secretly activated a provision in the Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty that stated that either party would come to the defense of the other.
Well, when there is the sort of chaos which they obviously have, they may take desperate action and feel that an external enemy might unite some of the people there.
A cruiser, a destroyer, and 2 attack submarines from the Russian Pacific Fleet, located in Vladivostok, intercepted the U.S. military carrier battle group. The successful deployment of the Soviet Navy to the Indian Ocean during the 1971 war was regarded as a watershed moment in the Cold War naval rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. It highlighted the Soviet Navy's capability to project power beyond its home waters and challenged the U.S. Navy's sea dominance. It is worth mentioning that the Soviet Union did not actively engage with the U.S. Navy during this encounter, and the two sides did not clash. Furthermore, the Enterprise Battle Group was unable to prevent the Soviet task force from assisting India during the war, resulting in the formation of the independent nation of Bangladesh. Even today, the U.S. Navy relies heavily on the nuclear aircraft carrier to accomplish a variety of missions abroad. The United States Navy has bases and ports around the globe that can support and supply its ships during long-distance travel. In order to travel from their home port to the rest of the globe, aircraft carriers typically deploy as part of a larger carrier strike group consisting of multiple ships, such as destroyers, cruisers, and submarines. The carrier strike group may also be supported by supply ships carrying fuel, food, and other necessities. Nuclear aircraft carrier, on the other hand, do not have to worry about fuel, because they have virtually unlimited range and can operate for years without refueling. The Indian Navy has been growing its global reach and undertaking more joint exercises with other navies, but it still lacks the U.S. Navy's global presence and power projection capabilities. Though it has participated in international anti-piracy, humanitarian, and disaster relief missions, it is widely acknowledged that India is the dominant naval power in the Indian Ocean, and the country maintains a sizable naval presence there. However, recent news conjecture, on the other hand, suggests that China's fourth aircraft carrier will be fueled by nuclear reactors, which will be a significant threat to India in its own backyard. Let me tell you why. China restructured its military to challenge U.S. dominance in the Indo-Pacific, most notably by proposing to deploy half a dozen carriers in the world's oceans. Nevertheless, China has one big problem. It requires bases around the world to refuel and maintain its global fleet. China has only one overseas military base, whereas the United States has dozens and hundreds of lesser installations. However, according to some analysts, China would not end at constructing a single overseas naval base. In October 2021, the Tajik government announced that China would construct garrisons for a special rapid response unit in the village of Vaikon on the same territory where a Chinese base is rumored to exist. Since the site isn't near any waterways or ports, they couldn't help Chinese naval activities in the area by providing logistical support or letting Chinese warships refuel. Reports also say that China wants to build a joint naval and air force base in Pakistan. However, running a military base far from China would be hard because of all the logistics involved. China would have to set up a strong network of supply lines to make sure its ships are always well equipped and restocked. So, the Chinese Navy may not be as present in the Indian Ocean if there aren't many bases nearby. This is where a nuclear aircraft carrier enters into play. Even if there are no naval bases in the area, the presence of multiple nuclear-powered aircraft carriers can bolster a navy's ability to project power and undertake missions abroad. The main advantages of a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier over a conventionally propelled carrier are its endurance and range. In addition, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers can generate substantially more energy than conventionally powered aircraft carriers, enabling them to support advanced weapon systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and other mission-critical technologies. They can also generate sufficient power to sustain advanced propulsion systems, such as electromagnetic catapults for aircraft launch. Nevertheless, even with nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, a navy would still require resupply methods, such as sustenance and logistical support. However, they continue to outperform a gas turbine aircraft carrier. I am not suggesting that a conventional aircraft carrier is incapable of completing a task comparable to that of a nuclear aircraft carrier. In fact, with the right amount of preparation and assistance from the logistics side, a gas turbine carrier may still be an effective platform for international missions. A common misconception is that the Indian Navy cannot compete with the Chinese Navy in its own territory. In reality, the Indian Navy is a formidable force in the Indian Ocean region and has been consistently increasing its capabilities over the past few years. The Indian Navy is equipped with a variety of aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, frigates, and patrol vessels, enabling it to operate effectively in both coastal and deep-sea environments. While the Chinese Navy is a larger and more technologically advanced force overall, the Indian Navy possesses unique strengths and advantages, especially in the Indian Ocean. China is aware of the Indian Navy's capabilities near the Indian Ocean choke points, particularly around the Malacca Strait, which connects the Indian Ocean to the Western Pacific. These waters hold a great deal of significance for China as a vital energy and trade route. In the event of a conflict with the Indian Navy, the United States and its allies are eager to intervene, as India is a member of Quad. Although the Quad is obviously not a security alliance, which makes it difficult for China to promote it as part of this U.S. containment narrative, and it has difficulty rallying even its allies to criticize it. The combination of the United States, Japan, Australia, and India gives the Quad extraordinary diplomatic weight. All four of these countries are unquestionably China's enemies, and any misstep by the Chinese Navy in the Indian Ocean could transform Quad into a full-fledged security alliance, which would be a horror for China. This may also be the reason why China never provokes India in the Indian Ocean, but instead exercises its strength in the Himalayas. They have been sending ships and spy vessels all over the place, but they have never once sought to provoke the Indian Navy. India has the expertise and the means to build a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. Scientists at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, who specialize in nuclear chemistry, have already stated that they can construct a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier if the nation's top leaders decide when to launch the mission. The country has already built one nuclear-powered submarine and is working on several more. If a country has the capability to build a nuclear-powered submarine, it generally means they possess the necessary infrastructure, technical expertise, and resources to construct a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier as well. India also operates nuclear power stations and research reactors as part of its nuclear power program. However, analysts are divided on whether or not India needs a nuclear aircraft carrier. Some say the country should focus on protecting the Indian Ocean region instead, and India does not need to project strength and aggression outside the region. While this may have been the case for India a decade ago, the dynamics of global geopolitics have changed significantly since then. India needs to show some sea power to counter China's land-based bluster in the Himalayas. For instance, China does not fear the Japanese Navy and regularly sends warships through the straits between Japan's islands.
According to reports, 2 Chinese government ships entered the Japanese waters. This took place near the Senkaku Islands. These islands fall in the East China Sea that are administered by Japan.
Japan's military is often referred to as a defensive force because of the limitations imposed on Japan's military capabilities by its post-World War II constitution, and forbids the use of force to resolve international problems. Therefore, taking a defensive posture towards China is not a viable option. And standing up to bullies is the most effective method of dealing with them. You should come prepared to show that you have the will and means to deal damage if provoked. India has previously demonstrated its aggressive stance in the Himalayas. To improve its military mobility and logistical capabilities, India has increased its military presence in the region and deployed additional troops, artillery, and tanks to the border areas, and has also undertaken infrastructure development projects, including the construction of roads and bridges in the area. China was not anticipating India's aggressive stance and military buildup in the region, thus it was taken by surprise. The situation in the Himalayas remains volatile, and it is uncertain how the conflict will be resolved in the long run. The usefulness of a nuclear carrier can be seen in the U.S. Navy's catchphrase for these vessels, which reads, 4.5 acres of sovereign territory, highlighting the importance of these vessels in situations requiring a presence, show of force, or humanitarian aid and disaster relief. In this context, it is indisputable that no combination of destroyers, frigates, or attack submarines, regardless of the cost differential, can adequately replace the combat power and maritime influence represented by an aircraft carrier. A nuclear-powered aircraft carrier can transform the narrative of establishing a blue water navy by providing a renewable, long-lasting, and self-sustaining source of energy to propel the carrier for 10 to 20 years, with a total duration of 50 years. India currently has 2 operational aircraft carriers and is working hard on its third. There is no denying that building and operating a nuclear aircraft carrier is an expensive endeavor. Nevertheless, with the growth of its economy, we may see a nuclear aircraft carrier in the arsenal of the Indian Navy within the next 15 to 20 years.
Time to take a chance to fly, feeling like I'm 10 feet high. Nightmares call, you can't deny. Better find a place to.
Meanwhile, nuclear-powered attack submarines may be just what the Indian Navy needs to counter China's growing presence in the Indian Ocean. That's all I have for you in this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed what you heard, and let me know what you thought, good or bad, in the comments below.